This section's about connecting up your professional home studio. Now, when you record and edit a voiceover in your own studio, you may have given a magnificent performance, darling, timed perfectly in just the right tone of voice and so on. So the last thing you want is for the client to reject it for technical reasons. Or actually even worse, imagine you've spent ages recording a long script to find nothing has been recorded afterwards. Pretty much a total disaster. So, what technical factors could a client reject your voiceover for? It could be distortion, caused by having your levels too high. It could be low signal-to-noise level, in other words, hiss in the background, caused by having your recording levels too low. It could be you recording nasty plosive sounds on hard syllables, caused by not using a pop filter properly or using correct microphone placement. Your voiceover recording could be rejected because it has echo, sounds boxy, both symptoms of poor acoustic treatment in your recording area or your mouth not in the right position to the microphone. Could have hum, buzz in the background, usually caused by one or more of the connecting cables being cheap and unscreened, picking up interference from a nearby mains electricity cable or from a nearby mobile phone. So, let me take you through every stage of the recording equipment and what I recommend to get perfect broadcast quality results. First, your voice recording area. This area around the microphone needs to be acoustically dead. Clap your hands. If it sounds like this, it's not good. If it sounds like this, that's good. If money is no object, invest in a ready-made voice booth like this. They're very, very heavy, they're very expensive, but they get the job done. These booths cut out noise from the outside and they treat reflections inside so that the sound is wonderfully acoustically dead, so it's like a top professional studio. And your computer's outside, you cable it all up through a hole, block that hole up as well with sponge, and it's fantastic. Well, that's what you've paid for. If you can't afford a ready-made booth, you need to find a naturally quiet room in your home and treat it with acoustic panels and foam sections on the walls, ceiling, and behind the microphone. Or you can use old blankets all around you, and these can be effective. They won't look as smart and you won't feel as professional. Basically, you need soft things to absorb sound and to cut out reflections. Quite a few of these audio blocks and things I've got sort of jagged edges in, basically so all the reflections sort of cancel each other out. You don't want basically standing waves, and an acoustic expert will tell you more about that if you want to know more. You need a microphone stand. No, you don't want one of these. It'll pick up rumble and table noises. You want one of these with a nice elastic cradle for the sensitive microphone so it doesn't pick up any vibrations, and is also best to ensure you don't knock it accidentally. Now, the microphone itself. Well, I could create a complete course on microphone choice alone. All you need to know is to avoid dynamic microphones. Avoid USB microphones. You need a large condenser microphone with an XLR socket. That's all you need to know. All right, large condenser microphone, XLR socket. You can read reviews, try different types out, but they have to be large condenser microphones with an XLR socket. I've said it again. Different microphones are suitable for different types of voices. I have a Neumann U87 and a Neumann TLM103. They make my voice sound particularly good, clear and resonant and all that stuff. But for you, it may be different. Choose carefully. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you may think your microphone may choose you. Yes, it might indeed. You'll also, of course, need a quality double pop filter to avoid those plosive sounds on P's and others. These little things are acoustically transparent. Don't worry, they won't muffle your lovely voice at all. In fact, I have a quadruple pop filter to cope with some really crazy voices I'm asked to do sometimes when you go really mad and you could pop it terribly, so quadruple for me. So, you connect the microphone to an XLR cable, the very best quality you can afford, so it doesn't degrade the signal or let in mains hum and so on. It needs to be as short as possible too, so it doesn't pick up nasties or degrade the signal. This cable goes into a solid-state audio recorder. You don't have to do this. You could record just on your computer, but I do this. It's the belts and braces technique. If the computer glitches or it crashes, you've got the recording safely on your SD card inside your audio recorder. Any good brand solid-state machine should be fine as long as it has an XLR input. The recorder needs to be set on the very best quality, usually creating a WAV file in mono, recording at 48 kHz and 24-bit. Make sure you are using the mono input, as there'll be 2 input sockets on the machine, as mine is. There'll be an output socket on the solid-state recorder. No, not the headphone socket, that's poor quality. It may be an RCA or phono socket. This then connects, again, via a quality wire that's as short as possible to your USB audio interface box. Now, I said don't use a USB microphone, but that means I'm not against all USB things. You need somehow to connect your analog world to your digital world. So you do this via a USB audio interface box. You need to have one of these. This box turns the analog audio signal into digital so the computer can understand it. Now, there are lots of choices here. I use and recommend the Steinberg UR22 Mark II. Focusrite Scarlett's also pretty good. If you're using the Steinberg, it needs to be set up like this. The input on maximum and the mix on maximum as well. This box is connected by a USB cable, again as short as possible, to the computer. Now, on this particular box, when you have the headphones on and people are talking to you, so you can hear them and they can hear you, this mix button needs to be on the middle position. I'll just tell you that for now, because that will confuse you later. It confused me for a hell of a time. Now, no audio gear is USB 3 standards, so connect it to any of the computer's USB 2 inputs. This box talks to the computer. You need to download the driver for the box, and you have to make sure that in settings, all the audio on the computer has your USB interface box as the default audio device. Then, in Adobe Audition, you also select this in its own settings. In the latest Adobe Audition CC, you can find this here. So there we are. Nothing can possibly go wrong, can it? Well, it could actually, because we've gone to a lot of trouble to use quality wiring, buying a sensitive, expensive microphone, soundproofing the recording room, yet there's an elephant in the room. Well, not exactly an elephant, but the computer, the flipping computer. You see, unless you can afford a completely silent computer that's solid state, no fans at all, you will no doubt have the clattering and clicking of hard disks and those pesky fans blasting out air, ruining the recording. So your computer needs to be outside your voice booth. Now, maybe you've got a neat solution like a small room that you treat for reflections, which has a cupboard in it. You can soundproof that cupboard. You can run wires through a small hole. Remember, you'll need to buy USB amplifiers if you've got USB cable runs over, say, 10 meters, sometimes 5, it depends. Well, finally, what is the computer connected to? As well as a visual monitor and, of course, a mouse, you need to have audio monitoring as well. You can have headphones on all the time, but you will get very tired wearing headphones all day. And you want some decent quality speakers to listen to your voice and all the nuances in the background. I use active speakers. In other words, they have an amplifier built into them, or you can have another amplifier if you want, but it's a lot of mucking about. Basically, you'll need to be able to turn down those speakers when, for example, you've got the headphones on and you're being directed by an ad agency doing a voiceover. If the speakers are on, then it's going to create feedback and all sorts of nastiness. In other words, your microphone will pick up the directions to you that you should only be hearing in your headphones, or else it will come out the loudspeakers, it will go into your microphone, and everything will be ruined. So you can either turn it down on the speakers itself or on the amplifier, but I use a mixer. This thing in the middle here is an EPM6 Soundcraft mixer, but it's a 6-channel mixer basically. You may not need this to begin with, but you certainly will later on when you realize you have to mix maybe different sources, like the ad agency play you a commercial that you just need to hear the sound of. You're also listening to them. You also want to play back what you've done. There's someone calling in on the phone, someone on Skype, so you will need those extra channels eventually, but you don't need it to begin with. You just basically need some decent loudspeakers, stereo Yamaha speakers. I have the active ones, which are excellent, and you need to be able to turn them off when you are directed on headphones. That is the very basic setup you need. And next, we'll get it all working.